Hello, WGS. My name is Hemrick. I'm doing my zine presentation. It's called South End Woes. And Professor Bracken, I just think the idea of a zine for a final is just about the most like punk rock thing imaginable, and I really, really appreciate being reminded of this wonderful art form that I used to do for fun and have just forgotten about in my old age. um, to introduce my zine a little bit, I I had been living in two very nice places in Louisville, in St. Matthews and up in Crescent Hill. But I had to get my own housing. I was living with other people, and now I had to get my own place, and I couldn't afford to continue living in Crescent Hill. So now I'm down in the South End near Wyandotte Park off of Taylor Boulevard, and it's really bringing me back to my working class roots or whatever. And I've been thinking a lot about that, because for a while there, I guess I really had kind of forgotten, where I come from and who I am, and I'd found that in moving back to a very struggling working class area, I've found that I have kind of internalized those really negative opinions of the middle and upper class. The negative opinions that they often have towards poor people, and so in a certain sense, I'm kind of confronting what a traitor I feel like, I guess. And so this scene is not super happy go lucky or whatever, but I felt like I needed to kind of think about this and get it out of my system, and I thought that this zine would be the perfect way to do that. So thank you for the free therapy that this zine has provided me, because it's been a very cathartic process, and the drawings are not very good, but I think the poem is okay. So anyways, South End Woes by Hamrick. Here's the first page of it. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. This is the East End of Louisville. This is just various parts of my life in the East End, kind of in one another, like Cherokee Park, rock shows. What is this? Hideaway, the Hideaway Saloon, A Broken Heart, Rainbow Blossom, music. I don't know what this says. I know that's Cherokee Park. One. Once during the back 10 of our time on Earth, I got a mind to come over here, and there was a turquoise, light and tranquil, smelling strongly of leather and shitty mid-tier Oxmoor Mall cologne, in the shape of two palabras, me at the center, the Bardstown, the Deer Park, the na-na-na, na-na-na of that Cocteau Twins song Lorelei over the farmer's market. Glistening, but my mind is not a castle on the hill, and Ben. I listen to Ben too much. Terrific mistake, since Ben himself will even tell you that he has no heart. You always fancy yourself as having heart on par with the Zapatistas, or Audre Lorde, or the Palestinians, son. But there's way more of Ivan Ilyich than you think in your heart. Hideaway Saloon, Days Espresso, Cherokee Park, doo-wop shop, ugly interior tattoo parlors, and all manner of things and people I cannot and will never be able to relate to. It's embarrassing to admit now, but I moved over here from Berea because I just wanted to meet some guy somewhere on Bardstown who would offer me transcendence. I want to meet someone who is religious experience. I want to ascend upwards into him and never come back to this world of ours. I want God. Along the way, I made the small choice to resume getting the degree to liberate myself once and for all from the slave class into which I was born. My sisters have liberated themselves, now I must. This is the second page of the zine, this is Taylor Boulevard, 29, like bus 29, bus route 6, which I took to get to JCTC. 4, which was the bus that I took from the house to Kroger, and it's also the bus that I took from JCTC down to Kroger, down 4th Street, but now I have a car. 1983. It's actually supposed to be 1893. I got the numbers mixed up and didn't realize till later, but this was the check that I wrote to get the house that I'm currently sitting in. I didn't buy it. I'm renting, but someday. It's a very crude drawing of my little box, but this is what this and every other house in the neighborhood of Wyandotte looks like. So 2. The little rat words from the little rat boy worked on my unconscious mind without my being conscious of it. His bleak worldview was simply just this never-ending assessment of the monetary value of objects and people. His girlfriends were assessed by their usefulness at keeping him alone and undisturbed, and nothing more. The never-ending acquisition of more. The climbing up to a favorite position in this here little Louisville hierarchy. Rat boy in the rat race. Talking about my old roommate. The East End, for all its smiling faces, is not too terribly unlike Ben. It is pleasant to look at and deal with, but underneath, it's just the relentless value assessments and not much else. When everyone around you's lives are arranged that way, you start to take it on too. Only you don't realize and think you're making progress. Eventually, Ben discarded me, so I moved in with friend Deborah. Deborah from church was good to me, a landing pad. Without her, I would have had to have gone home to Berea, but she let me live here with her until I had enough money to get a house. After Deborah, I got me a house in the South End off Taylor Boulevard. And this is just how my facial expression the entire time. That's how I feel a lot. Constantly. 3. I started a job cashiering at Redacted. And one day, a couple days in, I saw a Michelina's frozen dinner, and I was instantly transported across time. The messy house, the Deep South mother, the Deep South raising. The Deep South mamas, who are always looking for a reason to smack their chillins, scream at them. There's no love in a Deep South home growing up. There was at least none in mine. In typical working class fashion, there was the abusive tyrant mother, so worn out from having to do literally everything and be both parents, and the good-for-nothing stoner father. Not all working class homes, but a lot. And there was also this insistence, common to most working class households, that we are not working class at all. There was an aspirationalism to my upbringing, but it in many ways saved me. And it is difficult for me to watch working class parents transmit a certain powerlessness and helplessness to their chillins. We's trash. What's the point? It bothers me deeply to see parents transmit contempt for education, art, intelligence, literature, poetry, museums. That shit is just not for the elite. It is not just for the elites. It is all I have in this life. 4. These are all just kind of random drawings of various household things. For the sake of time, I'm just gonna not go into the drawings as much. 4. Owing to my mother's aspirationalism, I now have a very middle-class way of existing in the world, so far removed from my origins, to the point where the South End does not recognize me as one of their own, and it hurts. When people in the East End talk to me as an equal, that hurts more. I'm talking about the imposter syndrome of being working class, existing somewhere like fucking St. Matthews, and smiling and nodding, but feeling, what the hell am I doing? Uh, why am I talking to these generational wealth people as though we have anything at all in common? It's a really bizarre identity crisis kind of thing, and maybe if I have you again in a different class down the road, maybe I'll get into that more. I'm not like you people. I know your values and morals and find you repugnant. I now have an IRA for when I retire, and in parentheses, LOL, retirement, as if. I also have a 401k through my job with a generous employer match of 0%. $30 a check is deducted for the IRA, and 6% of each check for the 401k. I don't have much now, but I am saving, and by I will have a savings account again and can get out of panic mode. See research project essay for additional thoughts on panic mode and not having any savings. It will require making a lot of lentil soup, the only thing I am good at cooking, and refraining a lot from going to the opera. This is a reference, of course, to my other paper. I want to differentiate myself from my South End working class brethren with an appreciation for the arts and home ownership. And this line is not obviously my internalized classism coming out, but that's what it is. Ben taught me all of this. I must kill the octopus in Ben in the tempestuous of my mind with a harpoon like they do in Moby Dick. Violent, sorry. This is kind of a very chaotic little self-portrait where I'm just sort of screaming. I feel that way a lot. And here are various things that sort of wash through my mind. I will often tell people that I have a sort of stained glass window brain with the chronic ADHD and all, because it's just jumping from one picture to another, and the pictures can be kind of vivid. But there's a certain sort of like film reel, like go, image, and they usually don't correspond to each other at all. All these images in my mind, and oftentimes I can't even. It's like there's this part of my brain that's kind of existing completely independent of my thinking brain, and so being so split in all these different directions at the same time kind of makes you feel a lot like this. And I just liked this drawing, so I didn't want to put words on it. I thought that would kind of ruin it, so I put words on the other side of the page. 5. All those ugly things Ben said came back up to the surface. I looked at the poor, me, with new and merciless eyes. I do not wish to go into the full extent of all those evil things I thought, but suffice it to say there were some very uncompassionate hot takes. I'm too embarrassed to write all that, so let's talk of it. A cruel and mistaken sense of superiority came over me every time I saw a father or boyfriend unable to pay the bill for his wife or girlfriend. Are you or are you not a man? There's also some internalized patriarchal masculinity norms coming out. I am a real man, I say. And then the reality check that I have less than $100 to my name at any given moment comes. You often see in the South End, the working class is largely matriarchal after all. The woman in charge of everything. The men's are out drinking and smoking. The tricky thing is that a lot of them are indeed out drinking. It's a stereotype. There's some truth to it. I'm a better man than you, I think, and I glare. And a lot of the times I look at these men and they're so stoned they don't know where they are. But then I remember I have $4 in the bank and also could not pay a full bill for groceries. Jesus. I think about the ways in which I can and want to provide for someone. There's sort of this boy, I think. I really doubt anything will come of it, but in cooking for this college boy this young man, a college boy like me, in the same station in life and existing in the same space as him for a few hours. See final research paper for additional thoughts on this. Once a fortnight, every 2 weeks or so, it has me thinking about what I can and cannot provide. Not much, but everything. Typical. I, and in all caps, really don't think, and back to normal type, it'll be this particular boy, but someday I will meet a guy who I will be able to cook for and give money and housing to. I will be glad to, even as I sit there and hate this arrangement. And this arrangement, I mean the whole, like, provider thing. I will be glad to. I'm not terribly bright after all. And by that I mean, I like to think that I'm all different and special and enlightened, but I'm dealing with the same things everybody else is dealing with too. What a fucking peasant thing to say, Henrik. This is also dismal. A joyless ordeal. Love and marriage are both middle-class ideas to which I cannot at all relate. I refuse to do all that. 6. There's just a little stick figure there kind of contemplating his place in the universe. 6. Am I a bad person? I ask myself again and again, looking at these people, thinking such harsh, unfeeling thoughts towards. It just hurts me, and sort of triggers me, genuinely so, to see parents come in with their small children, liquor on their breath, screaming, hitting, smelling strongly of the zaza, weed, carts full of junk food, brutalizing the imagination and curiosity and sense of wonder of the children with each smack, and these loud displays of that overly harsh working class discipline born of feelings of futility unique to the working class, and increasingly the middle class, I guess. And before me, I see these actions that rewire their vulnerable developing nervous systems, and I see in these interactions the tragedy in store for the working class kids of the South End. This is not something I enjoy admitting, but I am brutally judging the fuck out of these people. Not the children, the parents. And I cannot pretend that I'm not. And it isn't judging them in that middle class way. It's an intimate affair, since I know you, and I am you. We're family. Hitting your children and screaming and yelling is setting them up for failure. All you do is teach them that the world around them is an enemy. This, without context, sounds really bad, but my mother and my father, to a lesser extent, they had that old Southern working man's sense of discipline with their children. And there's, the don't you give me no lip now or I'll smack you with a wooden spoon, that sort of thing. You know what I'm talking about? And I think I'm sorry, I'm not trying to turn this into therapy, but it's just really hard I'm 27 now, I've been away from that for a long time. It's really hard to see that again. And to have to just sort of stand there and pretend like I'm not seeing it, because when I was 8 years old and my mother was smacking me across the face in the middle of a grocery store checkout lane, I felt powerless because I was. And here I am again in this situation where I see this tyrannical mother figure or father figure, doing some really serious psychological damage to their children, and I'm once again powerless. And I just, I'm kind of, honestly, I'm tearing up thinking about it. I really thought that I was done witnessing all of that, and I'm not. Maybe I never will be, I don't know, but it is just, it really has got me thinking so much. And this is where the at this point the zine gets a little bit more compassionate. 7, The Turn. I admit there's not a lot of drawings on this because I really didn't know how to doodle these ideas. Uh, 7. The folks over at Union Church in Berea, they saw something in us, my sisters and I. They saw something in us white trash kids who invested in our minds instead of filling our minds with the junk food of the soul, and gave us the resources to make better for ourselves. To their patience and love and compassion and generosity, to their conviction that we were worth it, I owe a great deal of my intelligence and my somewhat well-developed worldview. I could learn more. I'm trying to learn more. I don't know anything. I'm not that bright, and my vision is narrow, but I know a thing or two. The world does not mystify me anymore, and most of the time, it doesn't challenge or even intimidate me. This is some, things only cis white men can say, right? People are impressed with Hamrick, Della, and Sonny sometimes, and we just have to shrug and say, all of this is made possible by the communities of people we have who support us. So for as far away from our trailer park origins as the Walters kids have come, we retain a certain provincial humility that our white-collar, professional, educated, friends find charming. When dealing with the South End, I have to remember that even in these people, there is that same seed, and that seed just needs the same cultivation that we received. I must till the soil of the lives and souls of my neighbors and put back out into the world what was given me so freely and boundlessly. And so for as horrific as all of these thoughts I have are, ultimately I know I cannot listen to them. The working class is not a lost cause. Even those several features of our working class existence I find a little less than amenable. I must exorcise, not exercise, but exorcise, cast the demon out. I must exorcise Ben and these middle-class values from my mind, and I must not let them consume me and turn me into the same soulless, floundering fish on the deck that Ben is. Sorry, I really don't like my ex-roommate. I know what I have been given. I must show the people of the South End that same kindness shown to me. I repeat that to myself over and over and over again. I was blessed with these gifts, and I have a responsibility to make use of them to make life better and easier for everyone. So you don't know me, so that may not make a ton of sense, but when we were in middle school, we started going to Union Church, which is like a bunch of Berea College people, and primarily retirees who have nothing going on, retired professors and stuff who are sitting on $1 million mounds of money. So, they see these three intelligent, bright kids with potential, and they see the world that we come from with our abusive, alcoholic mother and our kind of good-for-nothing, worthless dad. And, there's a certain intervention, and in a certain sense we were sort of adopted by Union Church, who made sure that we, did the right things and had opportunities and got out there into the world and, taught us so much about the world we live in and gave us so many things that otherwise we would not have had access to. And I'm saying, here, remember, Hamrick, what makes you different from the people here in the South End is that somebody else's resources long ago kind of plucked you out from this environment, dusted you off, and said, okay, we're getting you on a new path. And I'm reminding myself not to look down on people who have not had the same opportunities that I've been so lucky to have, growing up at Union Church and growing up kind of, in the Berea College bubble. And so for as trailer park as certain parts of me are, there's a lot of me that is, sort of academic, and it's a really kind of strange duality. I don't know. So 8, last one. Sorry. The story of Bossa Nova is a story of my life. A Bossa Nova nasceu na esquina da rua, which means Bossa Nova was born on the street corner. But even there, on those excessively modest street corners, beneath and co-occurring with the dust and chalk, were circuits of complicated rhythms. These underneath rhythms were heard by Tom Jobim and João Gilberto, who dusted them off and introduced into the circuit the crystal blue, black, white, the purple of the cool jazz of the 1950s. Bossa Nova, which means new style, traveled from as esquinas, or street corners, from the poverty and humility of Salvador da Bahia to the ears of the self-ordained sophisticates of the West. Bossa Nova's journey from the avenue to the other world, to that other world of fine dining, museums, concert halls, his wanderings from destitution in Salvador and Rio de Janeiro to the finest circles of Manhattan and Paris. In the path this genre has taken, I find something of the path that I have taken. But more crucially than just the trajectory of his life, what makes Bossa Nova so important to me and so relatable to me is that his roots on the avenue is what produced the complexity the genre is known for. In the Portuguese language, which is gendered like French, Bossa Nova is a boy. So I just kept the gender of Bossa Nova the same. Bossa Nova is a boy. I don't know. What is so important to me is that his roots on the avenue is what produced the complexity, not the sophisticated world, as many would believe, that drew those, quote, upper crust types to him. And so when you remove a esquina, you don't have Bossa Nova anymore. It is the same with me. Bossa Nova will never forget his roots, and neither will I. Viva, which means long live. Viva Bossa Nova. Viva Bahia. Viva the South End. Viva the workers. Viva the Walter siblings. And then over here, I have written in the Portuguese language, Viva este grande poder transformador, which is from a Bossa Nova song, and it just means, may long live the grand power, the grand transforming power of Bossa Nova. And, just that journey from poverty and destitution to the upper echelons. I don't know. I relate a lot to it, and so I've kind of been closing this with a sort of metaphor, I guess, for what I hope is just like the general upward trajectory of my life. And it's now been 28 minutes. I'm so sorry if you stopped listening long ago and deleted the video. Can't blame you. But if you're watching it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. I'm sorry that I've been so chaotic and all over the place, but I've really liked this class, and I've learned new things, and I will maybe, I don't know. Anyway, thanks. Good night.